Good evening and welcome to Community TV and Let's Talk with Lou. I'm Lou Tuosto, and as usual we have a wonderful guest tonight that I think is one of our most interesting folks because he has got so many roots in this community and does so much for so many people. I think it's going to be an exciting show. Somebody that everybody knows, they know the family name, they know who this individual is, and without saying too much more, I'll say welcome, Bruce McPherson.
Well, thank you very much, Lou. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
A friend of Community TV. I'd like to talk a little bit to you, our listening audience, for a moment, and just tell you we are so pleased to be here year after year. Community TV works mostly with volunteers, and I will mention at the end of our show our volunteer crew. We've got camera people that are well trained. We've got directors and producers and auditors and audio people, and they all do it because they care for our community. And so at the end we'll talk about who they are. Again, thank you for supporting Community TV, for being out here tonight and watching what we're going to do. Anytime that I have a guest on, I always like to talk about that guest and how they've contributed to our community. Well, we've got one of those such guests that have done that, but for several family generations, for years and years and years. And I'm always just so honored to have somebody of this caliber, and he continues to do it in public service. I believe that he does what he does because it's a labor of love. He does something for our community that I believe nobody else has ever quite done the same. I want to read, because we've got the time tonight, and I want to read a little bit about his bio, some of his experiences and where he's been and what he's done. Bruce McPherson is, in fact, the 5th District Supervisor. Bruce was elected to the board in 2012. He represents the 5th District, and that includes San Lorenzo Valley, communities of Felton, Ben Lomond, Brookdale, Boulder Creek, Lompico, Zayante, Las Lumbres, Mount Herman, then most of Scotts Valley, and a small part of Santa Cruz and Paradise Park. And Bruce has been a long and distinguished, has had a record in the community of serving Santa Cruz County, a 4th generation Santa Cruzan. His career began as a reporter in the family business, and of course that was the Santa Cruz Sentinel. After rising to editor after a few years, he served as assemblyman and state senator for two terms each. Okay,
that's right.
And also, when we're very pleased to have him in our county because he's got some clout in different places in Sacramento. He was the Secretary of State, and he served there for a while as well. Bruce's career as a writer has brought him some wonderful experience that he brings, I believe, to the board. And he's currently the chair of the board of supervisors for the full year of 2016. And the good thing about having been unanimously voted in as the Secretary of State, he was confirmed unanimously in both the Assembly and State Senate, and was recognized as a Legislator of the Year by numerous organizations and foundations. Bruce has worked closely with Second Harvest Food Bank, the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County. I think I'm going to make you blush, but we're about halfway there.
Yeah, well, it's been fun.
Yeah. And Cabrillo College's 50th Anniversary Scholarship Committee, United Way, the Tannery Arts Center, Ecology Action, the Monterey Bay Marine Sanctuary and Exploration Center, American Red Cross, and many, many other nonprofits. Has been honored and dedicated and his commitment to improving education and supporting public safety, fighting the environment protection, and assisting small businesses. And that is a whole nother subcategory. Being elected, he represents again the Board of Supervisors in these regional agencies and boards as well. Advisory Council for the Area Agency on Aging, Association of Monterey Bay Government Board of Directors, California Association of County Board of Directors, Child Welfare Services System Improvement Plan Steering Committee. We're going to talk about a few of these things as we get into the Bruce talking part. Highway 1 construction activity, Library Financing Authority, Santa Cruz County Library and Joint Powers Board, Santa Cruz Regional Transportation Commission, Metropolitan Transportation District Board of Directors, the Redevelopment Agency Oversight Committees of Directors, and he can be reached, and he is very, very approachable too, at 701 Ocean Street, and a phone number is 454-2200. Again, Bruce, thank you for being here, and I want to talk about some of the goals and ambitions that you have for the year as the chair of the Board of Supervisors. And we certainly want to talk about some things that you've already accomplished and how you might move forward with some of your goals for 2016. But maybe we can start out with a change in governance and the different state and county and the size of things and what's morphed into what it is now.
Well, thank you for that nice introduction. I really do appreciate it. I am asked a lot of what's the difference between the state and county government, and in one word, it's size. I mean, there's the pieces of legislation that you look at, the number of staff members you have, the number of people you represent. And when I was in the state senate, I represented about 1 million people. Here as county supervisors on the board, each of us with a county population of about 270,000. We each represent about 55,000 people, or maybe 30 to 35,000 voters in each district. So it's different, but it doesn't take less time if you do the job right, in my opinion, whether you're in the state government or whether you're in county government. And I've just enjoyed this time to be able to literally come home. And it's the right time and right place for me. And it's just taking place at a time when we are experiencing, I think, the biggest shift in governance in recent years since Proposition 13 was passed in 1978, when at that time things were shifted and the money in general up to much of the finances to support government services up to Sacramento. Well, beginning with realignment that really addressed our correctional system. The state had a prison overcrowding program. It still has an issue with that to some degree, but not as great. They shifted a lot of the non-serious felons to be incarcerated or taken care of somehow or other at the county level. That was what was called realignment. More recently, with the advent of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, we have more directly been involved in human and healthcare services, and we've always had those responsibilities, but they've grown greatly in the recent years because government is shifting back closer to the people, and I think that's a really good thing. I'm really pleased with that. I think and I think we've been able to handle it very well. We have a tremendous staff of county employees. And I think it's important for people to know, too, that right now, today, we're working with about 250 or 300 less employees in the county government than we had, 7 or 8 years ago when the Great Recession took place.
What percentage of our government would that be that you were used to working with? Was there a 10% reduction, 15, or about?
Well, it depended on counties. I mean, I'm thinking of the county level. The high was in the, we have about 2,450 employees. We were probably at 2,700 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. So in this county, the shift took place and the negotiations were held. I wasn't in the county government at the time, but there were furloughs, so people would work 4 days a week and so forth with pay. And those were tough times. There were tough times not only for Santa Cruz County, but every county, and the state government too. We saw the deep deficits that they had, and now they're coming back, as we are too in the county government.
Okay. So would you say it was about a 10% reduction in the amount of people?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
Yes. And probably it was a reduction in numbers, and then when they're on furloughs, there was a reduction in the time. So it was even greater than 10% probably. But in the time we had to, the budget we had to finance those employees, and they worked really well, I feel. In my now 3 years, they've been very really good people to work with. I am really impressed by some of the work they do, especially with the reductions we've had.
Is there a lag? If the economy is real robust, and let's say there's a lot coming into the coffers into, let's say, Sacramento, does it take a year or 2 or 3 for that to come back to the counties, or is it pretty immediate? How does that work?
It's on a schedule now. I mean, in essence, but we are so dependent on much of the state and federal government funding for one thing or another. Still, it continues. I think the best government is local government. I always have, even when I was in the state legislature. I think you want to give as much responsibilities to your city and county governments and your special districts as possible. And I think I like this movement, as I just have mentioned. I think but we are dependent greatly on what the state and federal government give to us. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, probably on discretionary spending, we have control over about 15% of our budget. So much of it is dependent on a great source. We get, half of our resources, more than half, come from the state and federal government, and then we have to match it or something to some degree. Mm-hmm. And then for pure discretion, though, it's not a very big number. But that's hard to explain and have some people understand. Well, how can you not use this money and shift it over here? Well, you can't just do that. It's not that easy. There's designated sources of funding coming from the state and federal government that we have to spend on some particular programs, and that's the way the system works.
Sure.
And there's been reductions in the state government level, and I have found there's more fiscal responsibility the closer you get to home in government too, because we have to balance our budgets. The state, historically, up until the last few years, they had all kinds of gimmicks and little accounting nuances that they would balance their budget, and the federal government is just known for printing money it doesn't have. There really doesn't have the real resources that it should have. It just is kind of out of hand, and it's a real problem that we have with the federal level. But I'll just stick with local government, what we have and how we're handling it, and I feel very good about what we're doing with the money we have.
Excellent. When kind of a civics 101. But tell us a little bit about, for our listening audience that are not aware, what does a county supervisor do? What does the board of supervisors do? How do they interact, let's say, with some of the other municipalities, such as the cities and some other state government agencies? But mostly, I mean, what kind of job do you do? Is it mostly land use kind of things, or? Yeah,
our really responsibility, we are somewhat quasi-judicial on some of the appeals board for property, but land use decisions are probably ours. I mean, that's up to us in the county. That's probably the most self-centered responsibility, shall we say, that the state and federal government don't have anything to do with it. They might have an impact on how much we get for housing or demand how much we provide or some of these things. But that's our main thing. But what I like doing in this level of government especially is getting different parties together to solve some problems and do it more efficiently, and I think in a better way too. There are several examples we've been able to do with that that I can just mention about God bless our recent district attorney, Bob Lee.
Yes.
He came up with an idea that we have the problem, an issue of a lot of people downtown, in the downtown area and throughout the county, and frankly it's throughout the state. But here he said, we give these people warrants, we arrest them, we throw them in jail, and they get out, and boom, they're out in 24 or 48 hours. He came up with a great concept. Let's get our acts together and have the public defender, the district attorney, the courtroom get a designated judge or judges to handle this situation, along with the human and healthcare services and the city and county of Santa Cruz to get together. We have done that in this last, it's just over a year now, and I'll tell you, it's phenomenal so far, and we need a little more time to get a real read on how successful this is. But with the initial targeted group that we've had, we've reduced the recidivism rate by more than 2/3.
2/3?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's an amazing number.
I mean, if people are getting a feeling that, yeah, I've got hope, somebody cares, they're trying to help me,
Sure.
rather than, and it wasn't, nobody was being, I'm not saying that, we weren't being overzealous in our enforcement by any means, but it's just that we've taken a different approach, and it's Bob Lee's foresight that really has gotten us there.
Sure. Is that the turnaround arrestees program?
Yeah, that's pretty much that I would label it, because they would just be arrested and just it'd be a revolving wheel, and they'd go in and they'd come out. It took a lot of time and effort and money to do that. And now with the people passing Proposition 47 just a couple of years ago, and that's to allow that some of minor felonies to be reduced to misdemeanors, to help those who have those of cases that are burglaries, for instance, of $950 or less. You can have those reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. And so people don't have that on their record, and they have a better chance for job opportunities, to go to education, to be qualified, to get some assistance in government of one type or another. This is just being started, but I'm very hopeful that it's going to allow more people to have a second chance, and without reducing our public safety in our community, because we have some oversight to see how well are you doing. And so I'm really encouraged about it. It's a positive turnaround, and you can't just incarcerate people forever, but I'm not saying I'm soft on crime, but on the other hand, I think that it's good for our this opportunity to give people a second chance.
And that's Proposition
47 that was passed by voters 2 years ago, in 2014.
Okay, so it's in play right now?
It is in play, and we just had there was out at Temple Bethel next to Cabrillo, we had a community meeting of people offering, this is an opportunity for you to come in and find out how you can go about this process and have this felony, this minor felony, relatively, reduced to a misdemeanor, and maybe allow you. And there was a young lady that gave her story. She had been using drugs and so forth. I don't know if she said she was a mess, but it wasn't a happy life. And she got a second chance, and she has taken it, and she's going back to school, and she's going to graduate from college.
That's great.
It's good. There's a lot of stories like that.
So we're starting to see some real good stuff happening with Proposition 47.
Yes.
Yeah, I read that in the Sentinel, and it was very impressive, to give, especially I think young people, when they make errors and they're 18, 19, 20.
And that's a lot of, that's when these errors have been made. Yeah.
Sure.
And
have that not trailing them is tremendous. And,
right.
Yeah, that's a great.
Now you have your serious felons too, so that's another story. But
Sure.
And the outreach and the enthusiasm in this county is really great. I think it's just really terrific how we're putting this program in place.
Sure. Now, did you say Bob Lee was part of that? Or?
Bob Lee was really the one as district attorney. He passed away, of course,
Sure.
about 2 years ago. But he was the one that had this concept of let's change this and in essence target these people and help them.
Yeah.
And I guess target's the right word to use.
Sure.
But he was just had a great vision of that, and his successor, District Attorney Jeff Rozelle, has carried this out very well,
Yeah.
and Larry Bigham and Jerry Christensen as public defenders they're on board, and so is our Health and Human Services departments. It's really great. And then you have a judge that takes these cases, so you don't have different judges hearing different things, or they have a better sense of what's going on. So it's and the program, and so it's worked. It's a real good program.
I've seen programs come out of Santa Cruz County, and especially one that I think the probation department worked with one of our professors at UCSC, Craig Haney, and he's considered to be an expert in these kinds of things that happen with inmates, their behavioral kinds of issues when there's jailbreaks and things like that. And he's been on community TV a few times. and I understand that he's had an impact on some of the programs, but I understand there was 2 or 3 that have been such good programs that they were exemplary, and they ended up being a model that went statewide. And I'm wondering if what we're doing here, because obviously we've got some things happening.
It's the same thing. Our county probation department is phenomenal.
Sure.
The amount of grants that it gets and for various programs, and there's a nationwide program called, known as the Casey Foundation, and I went to one of their conventions with our chief probation officer and he and others, and what they have done, and it gets into education, and I've worked, as a matter of fact, to do things like at the probation department to open it up, expand it so there's a garden back there. So those who are incarcerated can get a better appreciation of, growing vegetables and fruits and so forth, and then getting into cooking. And so that when they get out of their sentence, and if they want to take that avenue to for a living or try to do something there, they have a some kind of a vocation that they can get into, and those types of things happen all the time in our probation department. It's really a very successful department. They've done very well.
Speaking about the culinary, I'm always putting a plug in for Cabrillo, but I love their culinary program.
Oh yes, it's great.
Yeah, it's one of the finest, I think, in the at least Northern California, especially at a junior college level. Certainly the fees are reasonable and accessible, and I'm always encouraging people actually to check out Cabrillo with a lot of the things that they do. But that's one of them that's kind of a standout. Certainly, their allied health as well.
Oh, sure, and yeah, they do so much in the dentistry and just so many things in their basics for their foundation to give that many people, many students. What do they have? 16,000. No, I think it's down a little now, but 13, 14,000 at this time. But their enrollment, it gives people that chance to get into the university, get to the university level, and that's what it was meant for.
Yeah,
it's
a feeder program there too, right into Berkeley, which Berkeley is one of the best universities we have, and in fact the best public universities academically in the country, and so it's tough to get into. The competition is fierce, but anyway, so Cabrillo has got a very good working relationship. If you get into their program, you're guaranteed to get in, and kind of a personal thing. One of my family members took all their general education at Cabrillo, and then became a school psychologist, but went to Berkeley to do the rest of her stuff. She said every single class was just about the same or easier than at Cabrillo, a little bit. There was only one class, so we have that kind of quality. I was talking with a friend today about that, and he's at that age where his kids are, where they're looking at colleges, and I said, don't forget about Cabrillo. That's
well, I'm very proud to say our children, Hunter went to Cal, graduated from Cal, and our daughter Tori from UCLA, and it was it was a phenomenal education that they received there.
Well, who are you rooting for at the football game? So that's what you won't tell.
I know. I don't Bears or Bruins, and on that one I just kind of say I'm going to just watch, not say. But speaking of the university, I know. They're just a phenomenal asset for this community, and we had some rough times early on. I mean, when it was approved, there was the 18-year-old vote, and kids were in saddle shoes and short haircuts. And then, boy, when it opened in '65, the free speech movement was in full swing, and the 18-year-old vote came into play, and not too many years later, in '71, I think Nixon signed that, and boy, it just turned things around, and there was a period of adjustment, for this sleepy little resort town that had a lot of conservative people in it. But
surfers and seniors, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, surfers and seniors, and boy, what it has going on, it has about 16 or 17,000 students there now. But what they have in the Genomics Institute, boy, which I hope we can develop that here in this community, be such a tremendous asset. And so many other things. The Seymour Center, I've been involved in the Long Marine Lab since its inception, and it's a terrific asset that we have here in this community.
Baskin School of Engineering.
Right.
Tremendous, and
the arts, and they're just really great.
Let's talk a little bit about some state issues, and then we'll kind of work our way down to the county, certainly, and get a little bit more detailed about some of the specifics. And we've talked a lot about them for sure. But the water, water
Yeah.
certainly is a big issue, both at the state level. And I guess, the big thing is right now with El Nino, people have a sense like, there's relief. And I guess there is to a certain extent, but we're still in this drought. We're still conserving water. We're still doing the things that we need to do. And we're one of the best counties probably in the state that does that. A lot of people don't realize we're a big ag community, both north
Right.
and south, a huge, second only to probably tourism. And let's talk a little bit about what's been going on there.
Yeah, it's tough times. We've had these cycles, and we're going to have an El Nino, it appears, and there's been plenty of rain this year so far. I guess the bigger part of it's still to come. But as Gary Griggs from UCSC in the Marine Sciences, the head of that, said, you better watch what you wish for, because those of you who don't remember the last El Ninos, boy, they can wreak a lot of havoc. So we're not out of it, but water is, we're going to have these cycles and drought, and I know that the climate change issue is a subject that I think is real, but we have to adjust ourselves, and we're being in a coastal town. We don't have federal or state water resources coming to us. We're dependent on our own water resources from our rivers and streams.
Let's talk about that for a moment. And I think that we're a very conscientious community, and I forget what the stat is, and maybe you remember, but again, we're conserving more than anybody else.
You're right.
We're doing well at it.
Right.
And I think that my hat as a resident is off to the rest of us that do that. I know we do our part. We're on a well, but still we're very very cautious about wasting of water. In terms of the water issue itself, we're self-sufficient, so what you're saying is we don't get money from our water from other places?
Yeah, we don't get anything from like the Delta or something. There was one time a talk of getting the San Felipe, a big water pipe coming through over to our county from the interior valley, the Central Valley, but that never came about. But no, I want to compliment the people of Santa Cruz County for their conservation efforts. Yeah, we're as good as anybody in the state. We reduced overall our 30 to 35%. Yeah. And I think people are going to stick with it. They've changed their style. Even if we have some heavy rain, we have to stick with it. Yeah. I am really pleased with through that, with the cooperative effort that's taken place with the water districts we have in this county now. We've just had a forum last week in Capitola at New Brighton about how we're trying to cooperate with one another in managing our water resources. So when the heavy flow comes down the San Lorenzo River, we can divert it to fill the aquifer in Soquel or wherever the case may be. And Watsonville historically, as was stated at that forum last week, they went through this process years ago. They've always been overdrafting for 50 years, more than that. And to get the agricultural community, which is so dependent obviously on water, sure, as we all are, but to have them say, finally buy into, okay, we're going to reduce our sources, and we've got drip irrigation systems and so forth. We've been really good about how we've conserved our water, and we need to keep doing that. No matter how much it rains, we don't have enough holding capacity, and I don't think another dam is going to ever be built in this county. For geological reasons, there's some seismic faults that you can't build it here or there, like in Zayante, for instance, that was discussed 40 or 50 years ago. But we have to be more dependent and capture the water and store it in the aquifers that we have, be more efficient doing that. And I think we are doing that, and people aren't bored. And I know I'm the board appointee, this county board's appointee to the California State Association of Counties. And I have gone up to Sacramento, and it's helped that I've known some people up there. But with Perrette Harmon, the general manager of the Scotts Valley Water District, and I were in this water coalition when the water bond was passed a couple of years ago. We wanted to get more resources for the coastal counties from the border down to Santa Barbara, because, like I said, we're self-sufficient. We have to produce our own, and we did get some more. we got some additional funding. We still need more, but we were able to get more funding in that bond measure, which was really good. And that's about transferring water and to make it so we can have a better source during these dry times that are going to come again. We know that. So it's something that we just have to keep looking at. And locally, one of the things that in my 5th district is a big issue that I've had is the Lompico Water District that has a limit of 500 customers. Sure. And it has just 495 or something. We put a measure on the ballot last year at this time, and if anybody tells me every vote doesn't count, you got to listen to this story. As you probably well know, they had a bond measure, so the San Lorenzo Valley, which was very charitable, so to speak, and saying, we will allow you to merge with us because they have a better water system and it's bigger of many more connections than Lompico. But they said, we'll take you in and add you to our system. But the people, it needed a 2/3 vote, and it lost by 1 vote. Wow. 1 vote. And so now we're not giving up on it. And as we speak in mid-March, there's a proposed property assessment district that might be on the ballot because Lompico needs, as they did it was identified in the bond and is on this assessment district proposal. There's a need for them to make some improvements. And when they do that, then they can hook up to San Lorenzo. And San Lorenzo stuck with it. They said, we'll still be your good neighbor and we'll work with you. So I'm very hopeful. We lost one that was heartbreaking by 1 vote, but I'm very hopeful that this new proposal will be approved in mid-March of this year.
So it'll be on the ballot for the voters?
No, it's just this is just something that's sent out to. There's only 500 connections, that are there. Okay. It's just to the property owners, and they vote on it. And it only needs a majority vote. The other one that lost by 1 vote needed 2/3.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was close.
Yeah.
So it looks like you've got a heart for your community, and you know what the issues are, to bring it full circle and still be kind of fending for the residents for especially water is tremendous. By 1 vote, that's
oh no, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, there's been some other things in the state government that we were going up to get some more resources. We always, like I said, want more for water, but the state has a habit, and I guess maybe when I was in the legislature, my colleagues, I wouldn't say I did it, but we would impose what we called unfunded mandates.
Yes.
We would tell local governments, this is what you have to
define that.
An unfunded mandate is in essence the state or a higher level of government saying, this is the law, we have passed it, and this is what you need to do, but they don't give you adequate funds to carry out the program. And so then you have to scramble to see how you can raise the money to do it. And it was clearly identifiable. The state was doing this to the counties time and again. And when I was vice chair of the finance committee of CSAC, this California State Association of Counties, myself along with others, we said, let's make this a top priority to get the state to return those funds that they've withheld from us. Sure. Well, last year, in this year's budget, Jerry Brown and the legislature said, yeah, that'll be part of our budget package. And so we are getting, I think we have access to at least $2.5 million. And what we have done in the county is to identify the needs for parks. Where do you spend this money on capital projects? Well, in the recession, we had reduced, we eliminated the Parks Department. It became part of the Planning Department. And so or the Public Works Department, excuse me. We just didn't do anything. We had very little in parks. Now we have an opportunity to upgrade our parks, and this is where we're going to target that. I want to do that. For instance, in the Covered Bridge Park or Quail Hollow or Highlands Park, in the San Lorenzo Valley. Mm-hmm. They're in deep need of having those park improvements made, and we'll be able to do that in the next year or two.
So the money that came to the county for that is being earmarked for parks?
We've made that decision, yeah. They didn't demand it. They said, yeah, we've kept this, or we demanded this of you. We didn't pay you adequately for whatever those programs were in years past, but we're going to give this back to you now. Yeah. And so now we have an opportunity, and this is what I think is to good use. we might be able to get some more of those funds, but I'm not sure in this year's budget of 16-17 that the Governor Brown just proposed.
Sure. Well, we had the head of Parks and Rec here on the show. It's been
Oh,
about-
Jeff Gaffney?
Yes, Jeff. We got to talk a little bit about it.
He's a phenomenal guy, and he is very energetic, and he knows how to put things to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
He is terrific. He's a tremendous asset to our county government, and he's just someone who wants to get the job done and do as much as he can with the limited resources we have. And he's just a great person to work with.
Yeah, well, it's great to hear you have such confidence, because I think there's a few people that do as well.
Yeah.
That brought him in, and I think he was a find for our community, and whoever was out there that brought him in, my hats are off to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. Let's talk a little bit about budget reserves and more about community safety and the deputy issue, because I think you've been very involved in that.
Right.
And give us a little bit of what's going on.
Well, it's, when the downturn happened from the start of the Great Recession in 2008, it got to be that we were losing because of the decreased assessed value on properties that we had. We were losing up to $10 million a year. And so we had
10 million.
Yeah, $10 million.
Because there was a lot of reassessments because of the
yeah, reassessments. They can go down as well as they normally go up. But when the property values go down, then you have to the assessor, and we've got a tremendous assessor too in the county.
Yeah,
but Sean, is just right on top of it. But we had that dip. But what we had to do is just make some adjustments in the budget. And this was the board before me when I was elected, almost 4 years ago now. But now we've seen something a little come back. And so what we're trying to do is be reasonable. Like I said, we still have 10% cut in our number of employees. And we've been very frugal in what we're doing, but we're increasing the budget reserve. We were down at the bare minimum 7% level, and we're not putting a lot in there, and it's hard to do. There's so much demand that we have.
Yeah.
But for programs that have been cut in the past years, like parks that we just mentioned, but we just said that you need to increase the budget reserve. A top priority for me, and when I was in the state Senate, I was chair of the Public Safety Committee. And so public safety to me is a top priority.
Sure.
I mean, people need to feel safe in their homes and their communities, wherever they may go. And so we made and we had to cut by necessity, the number of sheriffs on patrol were cut almost 20, I think it was 17 or 18 deputies. Well, we have built back up over these last two budget sessions. We've increased the number of patrol deputies by about 6 or 7 a year. We hope to get there again. I don't know if we're going to get back to the full complement of 17 or 20 deputies, but we're going to get close to it. And that's a huge thing that we needed to do, and that was a top priority for me.
And the Sheriff's Department mostly handles the unincorporated areas.
Yes.
That aren't, like city municipalities like Watsonville or Scotts
Right.
Valley.
Yeah, the cities have their own police departments, and the sheriff's is for the unincorporated area.
Okay.
And there's a lot of room out there that the deputies have to patrol. I mean, sometimes in the past there was just a deputy from Bonnie Doon to Scotts Valley, and to cover that whole range. And now there's been some improvement. I'm just making comments, but we've had a great sheriff in Phil Wolwack, who retired a couple years ago, and Jim Hart was just elected a couple years ago, and he's been terrific. They just were recognized for implementing a nationwide proposal about some various designated, shall we say, causes that you should have as a sheriff's deputy or sheriff's department to be community-based, and we are the first one in the state to get this. There was an article in the Sentinel just a little while ago, about a week ago, announcing that, and Congresswoman Anna Eshoo was here to recognize it. But it was something that the federal government has passed down to say, if you want to do this, we want to help you. And so it's in general, it's about gaining more trust in the community of the Sheriff's Department, and or community, what you might call community-based policing or sheriff's work that will allow people to have more communication with the deputies, and it's just an updated way and how we should perform that service in our county. And Sheriff Hart and the whole crew of those in the sheriff's department should be complimented for being the first one in the state, as Santa Cruz County often is in some things. We do a lot of things first, and we do them well. So
well, I think in part because we've got such great leadership like yourself and other supervisors and mayors and city councilmen, and it's a tremendous group of folks that are so involved and that they care for the community. They're doing it for the right reasons. And every time when I'm interviewing folks, actually on this show or for the show, I run across a lot of that kind of stuff that just brings a tear to my eye, thinking, yes, that's what we need. We need more of that, and we've got plenty of it right here. So I think we're a model for many places throughout the state and probably different parts of the country as well.
We are, and that, if I could just, one of the most important thing for me at this point, and what we've been working on for 3 years, is what's called community choice energy, or previously called community choice aggregation. It has to do with our energy supply. And I try to be very basic about it. It is allowing a system that was approved through state legislation several years ago that allows you to provide your energy resource to be more dependent on renewable resources, solar and wind, biomass. We are into that. There's going to be a feasibility study, and as we're speaking, this is just about ready to be released about how we can implement it. We've been working for almost 3 years now, and one of my staff members, Jenny Johnson, formerly of Ecology Action, is been the team leader in making this come about. And we are right there, and we will announce it to the public. And when Jenny brought this to my attention, and by the way, I have two of the best staff members. My chief of staff, Robin Massatelli, is just terrific. She's the best person. She knows the valley and county government operations as well as anybody in that county center. But getting back to this community choice energy, it was begun really by Marin County and Sonoma County. They've done very well. And it's environmentally sensitive, and you're more dependent on these renewable energy resources, and I think it's proven to be more economical too for the user. I think it's going to be well accepted, but I want to have the feasibility study determine just what that's going to be, how we're going to carry it out. But when Jenny brought this to my attention, I said, I've represented previously people throughout this area, but let's try to maybe look at the Tri-County area that AMBAG is in. I'm the president of the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments right now, that the regional agency that's Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito counties. And I said, why don't we just try to see if they would want to be part of this? So we went, the 3 counties and the 18 cities in each county, and they said, we're interested in this. This looks good.
And Jenny has got a wonderful connection with Sacramento.
Oh, she does.
Her prior business experience in there. I've heard about her from some folks that have retired from that business from different counties. Recycles, a friend of mine, and he said, yeah, she's made a model for that kind of business, I understand, in Sacramento, and they're listening to her. So perfect person for that.
If this comes about, and it's the first one to be it'll be the first one in the state and probably the nation. Another first if we do it. And this is going to be up for the choice of the people here, and it won't be all 18 or 21, the 3 counties and the 18 cities getting into this all at one time. But if we do it incrementally of about 6 or maybe 8 at first, and then to see how it works, and I think it's going to work out very well.
You've got several some really neat, viable things that you're doing in play, and certainly they're going to take a little while to hang in there and finish them to their completion. And which brings up something interesting. Of course, you're coming up for re-election, and certainly we're not saying anything about that right now because it's going to be your personal decision. But hopefully, put a plug in. Hopefully, you're here around and wanting to continue on, because boy, you've got some things that are happening that I think going to need your touch to bring them to completion. Things that we need in our community.
Well, I'm energized with my fellow board members. It's a good 5-member crew that we have, I think, of elected members, and we've worked together very well. And I think I have a reputation for helping that move that along. But I think we're doing a lot of that right now. And so, I just want to thank the people in my district in particular. The San Lorenzo Valley in particular, that really it needs some assistance and some basic infrastructure needs. Whether it be water, as we've mentioned at some degree, but transportation and the roads and so forth. That is probably the biggest frustration I have countywide, is our lack of financial resources to address our transportation needs that we have in this county. They're tremendous. I just found out that the gas tax revenues have gone down the last couple of years. For one reason or another, people are driving maybe less, but they're driving more efficient cars, and they're driving electric cars, or whatever the case may be. And so we're not getting those revenues, and so we're going to be cut back from what we've been getting. And I'm on the Santa Cruz Metropolitan Transit District 2, or Metro, and we just got word that there was over $1 million reduction in what the state's going to give us in their transit-related programs that are coming to us.
Wow.
And I get, along with public safety, sheriff's patrol needs, the biggest complaint I get right now is transportation, and I don't blame them. We have 600 miles of roadway in this county, and to do an adequate job of keeping up with what we need to do, we should be repairing or upgrading 10% of or 60 miles of it. Well, in fact, the amount of money we have, and John Presley, our Public Works Director, gets more out of every dollar that ever comes into this county than it gets as much. But we only have enough to do 10 or 15 miles of road work a year. And it's just, it's hard to explain. People just, that's where they say, well, just get it from someplace else. But it's designated. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to address. We are trying to address them, as is every other member of the Board of Supervisors. I'm on the Regional Transportation Commission, and we are, and along with representative of each city and some community members as well. And we're looking at putting a half-cent sales tax on the measure on the ballot in November of this year. And we've looked at how we should address it. There's great needs in every form of transportation, whether it be your county roads that I've just explained, the tremendous need there, the Highway 1 issue. This is just unfair to people that have to commute and sit in that Highway 1 traffic for an hour or 45 minutes to go 15 miles. And so we're trying to address that as part of it. Paratransit services for those who are needy, that need that special type of transit service through Metro. Bikes and motorways, and then there's to upgrade or keep updated the rail line as best we can. But this is not going to be a measure that's going to have a rail line go from Santa Cruz to Watsonville. It's going to be something that's going to be a very small part of this proposal. And I'm disappointed that some people, I think, have misrepresented what this measure is all about. But it's hard to get. It will be hard to get probably a 2/3 vote on this. But if we don't do something like this ourselves and become what we call a self-help county, in essence, we have taxed ourselves as a county to improve our roads. So then we go to the state and federal government to ask them for help. If you're not a self-help county, they're going to say, we're not going to help you very much.
How might our listening audience help with that process? Because obviously we've got a huge dilemma with transportation, and it sounds like it's one of your biggest frustrations. What could we do as voters to enhance your bottom line so you can make the things happen that we take for granted?
Yeah, well, we are just to listen to all sides of this, and just to being a recognition of what we're facing in the transportation dilemma, shall we call it, because there's tremendous needs and they spread through the whole gamut of what we need to do to make it better transportation services for everyone. So just be open to listening to what the facts are and what is said. Mm-hmm. And frankly, at this point, some people have criticized the commission. Nothing's been set to go on the ballot yet, but we're trying to get down to it. We have to make that decision pretty soon. But we have to just realize that every part of that, what we call a 5-bucket system, is needed to address the overall transportation needs in this county. Mm-hmm. And people say, well, take this one out. Well, if you take that one out, everybody who wants it is going to vote against the measure. So I think it's, and the commission has voted 10-1 or 10-2, I believe it was, that this is the approach we should take to address it in an overall basis to try to see how we can meet some of the needs of everyone in this county who has different transportation needs. So just to get some understanding of that, the importance of us being a self-help county. If we don't get something like this to help ourselves, our hopes of getting any transportation improvements in this county are next to nil. We just won't get it. So okay. We have to hope we make the right decision. There's going to be a lot of discussion on it, and it'll be coming up in November, I believe, of this year.
Good information. As usual, Bruce, you bring so much to community TV. You bring so much to our community at large and as a whole. And it seems like you've just got so much happening, and it's wonderful. It seems like you have a heart for all of it. That's amazing. I commend you for that. And I will say this, and I'm proud to say it, you're running for re-election. We need people like yourself to be able to accomplish those goals, the goals that you've talked about already, that you've done already and completed, but then there's some that are still outstanding that need completion, some really wonderful things. I'm hopeful, again, not pushing you now, but I'm hopeful that you will run for re-election. I'm hopeful if you do that, that you're going to have the voters like you did last time you won. I mean, you've been showing what you've been promising to do. You're one of those politicians that say, I'm going to do this, and you do it, and you get it done. And the biggest thing that I'm so impressed with is you know how to do it. You've got these connections throughout, and you've got the experience. I'm not sure there's anybody more experienced in the county, electeds, any of our electeds with your background. So I applaud you for that, and giving back. Again,
thank you.
I'm always just in awe of that. But if you could summarize, I'd like for the last 4 or 5 minutes or so, if you could just tell us some things that you'd like our listening audience to remember Bruce by, for the next 6 months, or actually whenever. As long as you want them to remember something significant. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but if you can summarize it.
Well, I'm really excited about some of the things, and first of all, I just look at this as a form of public service, and I've been really blessed to be able to be in these positions that I've been able to be elected to, and people have supported me in, and the people I've worked with, whether it be on the County Board of Supervisors or the California State Senate or Legislature or Secretary of State's office. But one of and basically I really want to thank the people, particularly in the San Lorenzo Valley. When I was first elected, that I just had a series of town meetings, and I said, what do you want? What's the most important thing that you need or want? And and get the input. And we can't get a list of 20. Let's get down to 4 or 5, and improvement of some of the Highway 9 corridor up there, which is really the spine of the whole San Lorenzo Valley. So I just really appreciate them letting me know what's on their mind, and it's that doesn't bother me. It's part of it's part of the deal when you get into elected office. You are there to listen to people and deliver some of the resources they want. I do think that it's at this time. I'm just, as I mentioned, I'm really excited about this community choice energy program that we're about to unveil, and it probably on schedule. It won't be implemented till sometime in 2017. Well, you know, these things take time, and they should. People should need to understand them. And so that's what we want to do, is explain it the best we have. I just don't give up on our government. We can't do everything we want to do either. We know that there's a lot of needs out there, but you know, I really appreciate, as I said, the input that I get from people at my district and throughout the county. We have a tremendous team of supervisors that want to address these the best way we can, the most efficient way we can, to provide as many services as we can. And government can't do it all, but I feel really good about this opportunity to, and my wife says, Mary says, this is great, you can come home at night. So it's, you know, it's within 10 or 15 minutes of drive time rather than going 150 miles to Sacramento. So that's better. I enjoy that part of this, but it's being home. This is my home. My great-grandfather, God bless him, his soul, he says he came here in the mid 1850s, late 1840s, and here we go. You know, it's and my family has had a tradition of public service, and I'm very pleased I've been able to provide some of that myself.
Excellent, excellent. Bruce, thank you so much for being here. We've got a couple more minutes, and I just want to say again, you're always welcome anytime you want to come in and do a show and talk about whatever is on your heart, things that you've accomplished and things that you want to do, and you know, just what's happening in our county government. I think you're always a great resource, and your staff is always extremely friendly and open to just about anything that I think our public wants, is what I hear. And so you have a responsive crew of people. It's always great to have you. It's wonderful. I'd like to first of all thank each one of our community members that have volunteered their time, and I want to talk about community TV just for a moment. And thank you for coming to watch Let's Talk with Lou. I've been doing this show for some time. I love it. And I'm a volunteer myself, but I want to thank Keith Gudger, and he is our producer and director, and he is the chair of our board of directors here at Community TV. Camera, we have Dave Goldman, graphics, Karen Scott, we have Lynn Dutton, and audio and studio supervisor with Steve Pletch. And so we've got these wonderful people. If you want to explore an opportunity at Community TV, we do training, we do programs that you get to go through, and you get to get behind a camera or sometimes get in front of a camera and do all those things. So we're just very pleased to have the community involvement, and again, I thank you. If you are interested, Community TV, we're streamed, and we're very happy to be here and serve this community. So thank you very much for joining us one more time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.